Welcome to Church Tech Corner, and in this video, I'll be giving you an overview on a recommended way to set up your board, right? So to get right into it, first of all, we have all the instruments right here. So kick, snare, top, snare, bottom, all the way to guitar. And I arrange it this way because those are typically the channels I will most likely be mixing during a worship service. And then there's an overflow of the rest of the instruments and then the vocals. And then there's me, right? So typically I like to do like drums first and then bass and then tracks, right? Once that is nice and solid, everything else stacks on top. So guitar, organ, piano, aux, strings, lead all the way to the vocals. Now, the way I like to mix is that I like to send all the channels through buses. So what that means is these channels, so drums, will go into a drum bus right here, right? And then because there's a limit on how many buses I can actually have on the Behringer X32, so I can't have like a guitar bus specifically or a keys bus specifically. I will just use a band bus to have everything else. So band, track, and the guitar, as well as organ, piano, all the way to strings will go into the band bus right here. And then the BGVs will go into the BGV bus right here. So this bus, I will show you how to actually set up a bus. And what I typically use for bus settings is for drums, I use it as a subgroup. So this is how to set it up. So you select the bus that you want to use, right? Because I want it to be a stereo bus, I would have to link 1 and 2 together. So click on link right here. So now they're linked, right? And then I'll tab over to config right here. So config, and I need to make it a subgroup. Essentially, it acts like a summation of all the channels that I send to it, right? So as you can tell, I have 2 drum buses. So one I will use for summing all the channels, and the other one I'm going to use as a parallel compression bus, right? So I'll explain what I mean in a second. So select the next one. I will first of all link, and then subgroup, right? So now these 2 are linked. You can go ahead and link the rest as well. So these 2 are already linked. Perfect. And I'll link the last ones as well, right? So to rename or name a bus, you select the bus you want to name, toggle over to setup, go to name and icon, and this will be my BGV bus. BGVs, right? And a neat trick to copy this over is to click on utility, copy, select the channel you want to copy it into, paste. Now it's also named as BGVs. Now, because we're using buses, it is good practice to ensure that all your channels go through a bus. That way, they all go through the same layer. So what do I mean by that? So layer 1 is the channels, right? You've gained stage all of them. Ensure they're coming in at -18 dB. Layer 2 is you're sending them to a bus. Layer 3 is those buses will then get sent to main LR, right? So this right here, right? And then right from the main LR, what I typically do is I send this to my matrices, right? So the way to do that is you select your main LR channel, right? And you can toggle over to sends, right? But before you do that, just to make the process a lot faster, you can select the matrix and ensure that they're linked because it is a stereo send after all, right? So matrix 1 and 2 will be for my tops. Matrix 3 and 4 will be for my subwoofers, right? So again, channels first to bus, right? All channels are going to a bus. So I have a bus for drums, drum compression, band, BGVs, and then a bus for lead vocals, and then another bus for speaking, for example, right? Speaking, you can get away with mono send because 9 times out of 10, they are going to sit that center of the mix anyway. So if you need maybe one more bus for monitor sends, then you can spare one. And then from there, that would go to the main LR, and then that would go to the matrices. So this would be for tops, subwoofers, and then maybe any overflow mixes that you need to send. So for the top, ensure that you EQ it to make sure it's a low cut at 100 hertz. Again, you can use your ears to see what is the more appropriate frequency for your speakers in the room. And then for subs, again, rule of thumb is around 100 hertz for a high cut as well. But again, you can use your ears to see what's the more appropriate crossover point, essentially, for the subs in your room. So now that is all done, also ensure that you toggle over to routing, right? And then wherever your main outs are coming out from, make sure it is selected as matrix, right? Not main LR anymore, right? And then same thing for your subs, right? So ensure it is matrix 3 and 4 and not main LR anymore. Okay. So now that we're clear on the signal flow, I will show you how I send the channels to the buses. As I said earlier, the buses for drums will be a subgroup. So now it is a subgroup, and you essentially select the bus, select sends on fader, and unmute the channels that you want to send to that subgroup. Because it is a subgroup, you don't need to send this, right? So let me go ahead and play some tracks, and we can hear what that sounds like. So right now, if you notice, even though my bus is muted, you can still hear signal. And that's because I'm sending these tracks to the stereo bus, which is here. But what I want to do is take it out of the stereo bus and only feed it through here, and then send this bus to the stereo bus. So I have to go through. So do this. I'll play other drums so you can hear it. Wait. So take it off. Right. So now it's all off. Right. If I unmute this and I pull it up, you still cannot hear anything. That's because it's not being sent to the stereo bus yet. So I select this and then send it to the stereo bus. So now you can actually hear the sound coming for it. So essentially you want to repeat these steps with the rest of the tracks that you have, right? So for example, you have bass, right? I want to take that out of this, right? Select the band. Do this. Still can't hear anything because I still need to send it to the stereo bus. Now you can hear it, right? So for a band bus, I've gotten away with making it a subgroup, but typically I recommend making it post fader, right? And the way you send it is typically just put it at unity, right? And because it's a post fader send, what I do here, right, will also get sent out. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.